Hi, everybody. I'm Brett Lonsdale, and welcome to the webinar this afternoon. We're going to be taking a look at our product DeliverPoint and how it can help you prepare for Copilot in terms of getting the permissions and the sharing correct inside of your Microsoft 365 environments. So welcome to the call, and I hope you enjoy this and get a lot from it. Also, welcome to everybody watching this back after the event as well. First of all, what we're going to do is just do a very brief introduction to myself and to Lightning Tools, so you know who you're joining this afternoon, and then we're going to have a look at some Copilot prompts and also have a look at how permissions can be set with inside of your SharePoint sites and in Microsoft 365 admin as well. And we're also then going to, of course, jump into DeliverPoint and take a good look around DeliverPoint and how that can help you. And anybody that is already using DeliverPoint, we're also going to be taking a look at some of the brand new features that we're launching this month in version 4.5. So it'd be great to get your feedback on those new features and also be welcoming any questions as well, which you can either wait till the end, or if there's any questions that come up during the webinar, feel free to drop them into the chat, and either my colleagues will answer on my behalf during the presentation, or if they don't, I'll get around to those at the end of the webinar as well. Yeah, feel free to drop those in as they come to mind. Okay, so yeah, first of all, we're going to like I say, do a quick intro to Lightning Tools. So Lightning Tools is a company that I founded back in 2007. So we're getting on for, well, we're just over 17 years old. And over those 17 years, we've been creating different products for Microsoft SharePoint primarily, and including DeliverPoint today that actually dates all the way back to that time frame. So DeliverPoint was a product that was available for SharePoint 2007 and upwards, and of course we've evolved that to what it is today inside of SharePoint Online and also inside of Microsoft Teams as well. So DeliverPoint's not our only product in our portfolio. We have a number of different tools which you can check out on our website, things around content aggregation and data integration. We've also got discussion boards, form solutions, info path migration tools, and things like that. What you'll find in common with all of the tools is that they are all designed to help you be more efficient with inside of Microsoft SharePoint. And of course, you can, yeah, really do things on a larger scale than what you can do with SharePoint out of the box. So a little bit more on the company. We're headquartered here in the UK. We also do have a presence in the US. We serve our customers worldwide, and we're also ISO 27001, ISO 9001 certified as well as a Microsoft partner. And yeah, the certification is quite a key thing. It comes up time and time again about where do we store your data and how do we protect your data and so on. One of the great things about DeliverPoint that you'll learn today, and this goes to the same for all of our products, is nothing that we create is actually hosting your data anywhere. We design all of our products as SharePoint framework solutions. They're embedded into your environment, so no data leaves your environment, nothing's processed outside of your environment. It's all there under your control. Yeah, like I say, that's DeliverPoint included within that. So what we're going to be talking about today, as I mentioned, we're going to have a look at DeliverPoint, really with a focus on Copilot. If you're not even planning on looking at Copilot, it's not your intention at all, don't worry, you're still going to get a lot from the webinar, because of course there's search, or just the fact that people can navigate around SharePoint to content as well, that you should maybe also be concerned with. But we are going to have a slight focus on Copilot and some of the things that you should maybe consider before rolling out Copilot in terms of permissions and sharing links inside of SharePoint, OneDrive, and also Teams as well. And of course, we'll be having a look at how DeliverPoint can help you with that. So preparing for Copilot, Microsoft's got a lot of content around this that I'll be pointing to you as well, so you can find out a little bit more about what Microsoft's recommendations are. And they've got some guide documents and so on, which are very, very useful. But we're going to just have a look at how specifically we can go in and manage the challenge of oversharing inside of SharePoint. I'm not just going to jump straight into DeliverPoint at that point. We're going to take a look at actually some of the features that Microsoft offer as well. There's things like the Data Access Gateway, which is part of the SharePoint Advanced Management tool. There's also the ability to manually report on permissions and sharing links with inside of SharePoint sites and so on as well. So we're going to take a look at that. We're also going to have a look at how we can maybe stop people from sharing so much, especially externally. So we'll have a look at some of the settings that you have either at site level or also at organizational level as well. Once we've gone through all of that, we're going to also take a look, like I say, at DeliverPoint. We'll have a look at how DeliverPoint can help. So some of the existing tools that we have within inside of DeliverPoint for reporting and managing permissions, and then towards the end, we're going to have a great deal of time spent on some of those new features and how they've been developed with Copilot in mind as well. And like I say, if you've got any questions, if you've got any feature suggestions, or anything that you want to feed back to us, we're all ears. Your contributions really help us to grow our products as well. So starting off with the adoption playbook, this is actually something that you can, like I say, go and get from Microsoft. We'll be sharing my slide deck afterwards, and these are hyperlinks, so you can jump straight to them. Yeah, feel free to do a quick Google search on this as well if you want to. So I'm just going to bring that up on the screen and show you that the Copilot Microsoft 365 adoption playbook is something that you can download, so you can get a PDF copy of it, and it takes you through different phases of rolling out Copilot. There's some considerations such as, who do I give the Copilot seats to, and so on and so forth. But as you jump through these phases, you can see that step one of phase one is to review your security and data settings, and that's really what this webinar is all about. Is how you can get past this phase one quicker than what you'd be able to do using perhaps the SharePoint out of the box tools for managing sharing links and reporting on them as well. So that is something that you can, of course, go and grab from Microsoft. There is also the other link on there, which is regarding the data privacy and security for Microsoft Copilot. That's a Microsoft Learn piece of content. I've highlighted something that we're going to be looking at there today. So as we just jump back and have a look at that, one of the things you'll be able to do as you read through this and learn the requirements for Copilot and how it can gain access to your content through Graph is really this section that I want to bring your attention to, and that is how Microsoft Copilot for Microsoft 365 only surfaces organizational data to which individual users have at least view permissions. So it's important for you to use the permission models available in Microsoft 365 services such as SharePoint to help ensure the right users or groups have right access to the right content within your organization. So this is obviously something that we need to get right, and that, like I say, is what we're going to be focused on today, so that you can make sure that the people that are using Copilot are not going to be accessing content that they should not be privy to. And we're going to do that for organizational users and not necessarily just external users, and I'll explain why as we go through that as well. But there is view permissions is all you need for your access. So if you're the person at the Copilot prompt and you're asking a question, it can serve you answers from content that you have just view access to. And really what we're going to be looking at today is, well, how do we find out what people have view access to? And one of the reasons why that occurs a lot is things like the everyone group may have been used. So if the everyone group has been granted permissions at a site level, it could be maybe a communication site, or it could be a top level site inside an organization, and then we overlook the fact that we've got subsites, we've got broken permission inheritance going on inside of folders and files and so on, but that everyone group is bleeding down and granted permissions to all of that content. Even if it's view only, that's enough for that content to be served through Copilot. And of course search as well, and navigation. So it's no new thing that we need to be concerned about this, but Copilot is just another reason why we should be looking at it a little bit more carefully. So we're going to start off the session in just taking a look at a demonstration, not of DeliverPoint, but just having a look at how easy it is to overshare content inside of SharePoint and Teams. So it's not something that is necessarily done maliciously or intentionally. It can be done just simply because it's so easy to share content. And if we're not actually conscious as to what we're doing when we're sharing content, it can lead into challenges with oversharing. And we're going to have a look at then a Copilot prompt and see how we could maybe gain access to information that we do have access to, but we may not have been aware of, and it could contain information that we shouldn't necessarily be privileged to see. So we'll jump into uh, another site here. So we're inside of a SharePoint site. Now I've actually just come in as a different user. I've got 3 different personas that I'm using for this webinar. First one, I'm actually signed in here as an IT persona, if you like. So I'm a SharePoint administrator. In fact, a Microsoft 365 administrator with inside the tenant, and that is using this account here, which is just called Lightning Tools. So that's my my admin account. But what I also have is 2 other people. This one is demo user 5, and we've also got demo user 6 as well. So a couple of accounts there that we're going to be using, and I'll show you and make sure you're aware as to which account I'm signed in with when we're viewing this content. So I'm just going to jump into this site. It's called 2024 Financial Planning. It was created a few days ago by Demo User 5. So Demo User 5 is the owner of this site, and Demo User 5 is not by any means a member of the IT. They're not a SharePoint administrator or anything like that, but they are the owner of this site, which gives them full control to that site. And of course, people inside of organizations are creating sites, they're creating teams, they're creating Microsoft 365 groups, they become the owner of it. And with that becomes the responsibility of managing permissions. But that's not always taken on board. It's always seen as, well, security is an IT thing sometimes. So as the owner of this, what you'll notice is that Demo User 5 shared the site with the admin account, Lightning Tools, and also with Demo User 6. And I just really want to bring your attention to the fact that Lightning Tools is just a member of the site, not an owner. The only owner is Demo User 5, and Demo User 6 is also a member. And the steps to making Demo User 6 a member was literally clicking on the Add Members button. So we can click onto that Add Members button and add somebody in here as a member. Now, I'm just going to jump into DeliverPoint very, very quickly to show you when we discover permissions within a site. This gives us the full detail. If you're not in this report, you do not have permissions to the site. So these are the only people. We've got system account showing as full control. Lightning Tools is just simply showing as having edit permissions, and we can see how those edit permissions are applied. Demo User 5 has edit. Demo User 6 has edit as well, because the site was shared with them. And by sharing the site with them, they are put into the Microsoft 365 group and also inside of the SharePoint group. So that's why it's listed twice as having the edit permissions in there. And you can see Demo User 5's account at the top here is showing as full control, both directly and indirectly or implicitly, because they are also inside that site collection administrators group at the very top. So what I really want to draw your attention to is the fact that Demo User 6 only has edit permissions. So what we're going to do now is jump in to the site as Demo User 6. So again, here we are, signed in as Demo User 6. They're only a member, and you'll notice some changes or differences rather. When I go to the permissions for the site as Demo User 6, this side panel looks different to what it would look like for Demo User 5. So when I go in as Demo User 5, we've got things like advanced permissions, we can set guest expiration, we can change how people can share and so on. But what we still have, even as somebody with edit permissions in this case, is add members. And I could add members to the Microsoft 365 group, or I could just share the site, either or. So I could add different people inside the organization. So we could add demo user 7 if we want to. I could also go in and add Active Directory security groups or Entra AD groups, including everyone. So like I say, this is something that may not be done intentionally. It may be done with goodwill that, yeah, some great content in here. I think everybody should see this. So what I'm going to do is just go through and add the everyone group. And that is it. Now everybody is invited to this site. And if we just jump back here into the site again as demo user 5. So again, I'm just going to highlight the fact that I'm in here as demo user 5. Let's go into DeliverPoint once more. Maybe we need to refresh that. Just give me 1 second. That may have actually needed to go through the approval process. Yeah, no, there we go. So what you can see here is now everybody in the organization has permissions and they all have edit, which means that they can also share. So what I'm going to do is just show you as the owner, as demo user 5, if we go into the site permissions and have a look at the how members can share. This has got the default setting in my environment for site owners and members can share files, folders, and the site. People with edit permissions can share files and folders. So that's the default setting. And this really comes down to the responsibility of that site owner, making sure that the right setting is configured here. Okay, so that's the reason why anybody now inside the organization can go through, share the site and share the files and folders within that site. And that is then opening it up to search, it's opening it up to Copilot and so on as well. Now, what I've not touched on there is external people. This is all people inside the organization. So there could be other departments and so on that shouldn't necessarily be reading this information in here, but yeah, they now can. It's visible to everybody. Okay, so that's really the challenge here. How easy is it to overshare content with SharePoint and Teams? So that was actually sharing the site. Again, let's just jump in as demo user 6, and I'll also show you how we can share specifically files and folders and so on as well. So there's just a few different documents in here. There's financial projections and financial information and so on. And of course, I can go into the manage access option, and we're doing this again as demo user 6 here, which is just the member, and they have the ability to share specifically a file or a folder. Now in here, we're invited to add a name. It could be an email address. If external sharing is allowed, it could be an external person and so on. And over on the right here is where you can control the permission that it's going to get, and it's defaulting here to can edit. Underneath that, we've got a copy link, or we can send. So of course, when we're going to hit send, it's going to send an invitation to that account that we put in here. If I just hit copy link, you can see what it's going to do. Now this will depend on the settings in the site. It may be defaulting to an anyone link. It could be defaulting to just people inside your organization and so on. But if we just simply go through and share the file, not really conscious of what we're doing, maybe somebody's talking to us in our right ear or whatever, and then we go through and copy the link, we've just simply shared this with anybody in the organization can edit that file containing financial information. So I showed you that at the site level, which is actually a few more steps to go into. This is actually easier to do in error. The button to share is right there. And if we accidentally just hit copy link without thinking about what we're doing, we've just shared that file with anybody inside the organization. And then the other challenge is, well, finding all these places where that's occurred. You might think, well, I'll just select everything inside the document library and come down to the manage access, but it's not showing there. It only shows when you have just one file selected. So you'd have to go through every individual file or every individual folder, click onto manage access in order to be able to see, is there a sharing link on there? And if there is, then I could go through and simply remove it. And nobody's got the time to do that. It's just yeah, a major report, which is why Microsoft has made some changes with the data access um, governance piece, and also the SharePoint Advanced Management, which we'll be also looking at. So what we can do, in fact, sorry, before I move on, let's just have a look at Copilot and the results of doing that with Copilot, and then we'll take a look at the advanced management. Come back in here as Lightning tools. Demo user 6 could do this as well. I can't show that because I've only just assigned one Copilot license to one account, and that is the Lightning Tools account. But when I'm inside the Copilot prompt, one of the things that I can do is actually just view prompts here, and it will give me some suggestions as to the sort of things that I might want to ask. And yeah, there's what's new, there's just start a conversation. I think I must have to be pretty bored for that one. We can track my tasks and catch up on my inbox as to what's new and that sort of thing. So if I just say, yeah, tell me what's new, it's actually got a variable there for the person. So what's the latest from? And person at the very top of the list is demo user 5. That's the person who created the financial information site. So I'm going to go through and select that. And you can see now it's just created the prompt for me. What's the latest from demo user 5, organized by emails, chats, and files? So let's just hit go on that one. And it's starting to look at that information. And here it's found some information. May get different results each time. But in there, it's found some, well, it didn't find any recent emails. It found some chats, it found some files, and so on. And yeah, there's one in here called Fictitious Company Financials 2024, which belongs in that site that we just had a look at. And then down here are some more prompts. So yeah, there's different things in here that I could click on. So let's click onto that file, and sure enough, it's actually going to take me to that file. What it might actually do is ask me if I want to ask questions of that file as well. So that could also appear as one of the different prompts in there. In fact, here they are. So now I've gone back onto that page. Tell me more about the financial documents. So I'm just going to click onto that one. And now it's actually looking into some of those financial documents. And it's giving me a little bit of information about what's contained within it. So we can see that as well. And I can actually ask it to do a lot more. So what are the main revenue sources mentioned in the financial data? I don't know. Let's click onto that and see what happens. So whilst we could find this information anyway, because we have access to it by navigating, we could search anyway. So I could go into SharePoint, and sure enough, sorry, let me just click onto the SharePoint link here. So we could actually just do a search for financial, see what comes up, and sure enough, there's all the financial data as well. So it's not just a Copilot problem, but how this has come about was actually Copilot suggesting a prompt to me, and I've just digged in deeper to find more information, and we're viewing financial information inside the organization. So that's the sort of thing that we really need to make sure that we've tied down in terms of who has access to what. So reporting and managing oversharing out of the box, what we've got is different tools based on whether you're a business user or whether you're an IT administrator or IT persona, I should say. So if you're a business user, you've already seen that you can go into the SharePoint site, you can have a look at the permissions panel over on the right hand side, and of course you could see if the everyone group was granted permissions and so on. In order to do that on the files and folders, remember you have to do that one folder at a time, one file at a time, one list or library at a time, and then also go into the subfolders and do the same again. So that's really time consuming, but it is something you can do in order to be able to find out what has been shared and where. IT administrators, you have the option of looking at the SharePoint Advanced Management, and part of that is called the Data Access Governance piece. And it's Data Access Governance that is giving you some of the reports that you can produce across your entire environment. So you can have a look at anywhere where the anyone links have been created, or you can have a look at where the everyone group has been granted permissions and so on as well. So that's something that you can do. It's only anybody using an E5 license of Microsoft 365 will get the data access governance bit of that, have access to that. So you have to be an administrator with the, of course, admin access, but you will get the data access governance. If you want the full SharePoint Advanced Management, then that's something that you can also acquire for your organization as well, but it doesn't come with E5. There are some limitations. So reports that you produce are limited up to the 100 sites in one go, and it will show you the highest number of sharing links created within the within the last 30 days. You'll also see the name of the administrator for each site. It doesn't include OneDrive data, and if you're downloading a report, you can download up to 10,000 sites as well. So you'll get literally the list of 10,000 sites and where the everyone group or the anyone group has been added. The alternative is to use PowerShell. So there are some PowerShell commands and so on that you can use to also have a look at where the everyone group or the anyone links are created as well. So that's some options for reporting. In terms of making sure that we're not oversharing as well, there are some options. One of them we just touched on a minute ago, and we'll have a closer look at that. And that is the responsibility of the site owner to make sure that they're not allowing oversharing to occur. And then from an organizational point of view, under the SharePoint Administrator Center, you can also control how external sharing is going to be restricted or not. The focus here is this is about external sharing. That's not really the topic of conversation here. This topic of conversation is really about, well, who else is inside my organization? Is it temporary contractors? Is it people in different departments? Whoever it might be, they are not an external guest account. They have a Microsoft 365 account with a SharePoint license. And if we're sharing with the everyone group, then they may be privy to information that they should not see. So this external sharing option isn't really going to apply to them. We could share with people just in our domain. They're going to gain access to that content. So we really need to be concerned with who has access to our sites and what have you. So this option, rather than just show it in PowerPoint slide, let's navigate to it. So you'll find it in the SharePoint Admin Center. It's under Policies and then Sharing, and you've got the option of making it least permissive or most permissive. And recommendations typically are go with the most permissive, allow sharing with anyone. The reason why is if you tie this right down so that only sharing is occurring within inside your organization, you can't share externally, you need to get a file to a customer or to a vendor. If you can't share it with them, then you're probably going to download it, stick it in Dropbox or email it to them or something along those lines, and then there's no control whatsoever on that content. Whereas if you are allowed to share from within inside of SharePoint, then you at least have control over what sites allow external sharing, which ones don't, so you can manage it accordingly. But you'll see lots of different options in here. You can set those defaults that I was talking about. So what's the default permission for sharing links? You can tie that down to view only as opposed to edit. The type of link that you get for files and folders could default to only people in your organization rather than anybody with the link, and so on. So take a look at those, make sure that they're restricted if need be. And you can also, for anyone links, have them expire after X amount of days as well. So maybe something like your company logo, if you wanted to make sure that there was an anyone link for anybody to get that, you could share it, but maybe just make sure it's got an expiration date set on it as well. So these are things that you can do there inside of SharePoint. And if we go to active sites, you can, from the SharePoint admin, go through and select the different sites. In fact, sorry, you do have to do one by one. Click onto sharing, and in there, you can be specific about how sharing will work externally for that particular site. So if there was a certain site that is like this financial planning one, we want to make sure that this certainly does not get shared externally, at least, then we can tie that down at that stage as well. And the site owner can do the same thing. So the site owner could actually navigate to that site. I think I closed it. Let me just open it up from here. There we go. And the site owner can also tighten the sharing options on that site as well. So they can go into the site settings, which you'll see in just a second. So under site permissions, sorry, signed in as the wrong account here. Let me bring that up as demo user 5 again. So under site permissions, we can change how members can share, and that's where we can tie it down just for this one particular site. So if we wanted it to be only the owner can share, then we can make sure that only the owner can share the site, and we're not going to get into this sprawl of permissions being granted. Okay, so how can DeliverPoint help with all of this as well? Over on the right is a chart from or an image from Microsoft. This just shows how users from their phone or the desktop can use different Microsoft 365 apps with Copilot. You can use the Copilot prompt to query information. It's going to use the Microsoft Graph. So you can see in here what it's using. So groups and files, messages, etc., as the graph entities. And that in turn gives it access to your organizational data. So the data it has access to is Teams recordings, the meeting recordings, your user folders and files inside of OneDrive, also communication sites and team sites within inside of SharePoint and the content within them, and then also any groups that you are a member of in terms of the mailboxes, and also your own mailbox as well. So you can't, of course, query other people's mailboxes in there. And then finally, also the Viva Engage groups. So we're going to be focused on this section. We don't do anything for Exchange or Teams chat or anything like that. We're looking at the organizational data in OneDrive, SharePoint, and Teams. And DeliverPoint can help you from the perspective of a business user and also from the perspective of IT as well. So we're going to have a look at how we can run some bulk permission reports, how we can manage permissions in bulk as well, even as a business user. And from an IT perspective, we'll have a look at how we can do that on even larger scopes. So from the business user point of view, again, as a site owner, as somebody with full control, which you get as a site owner, you have the ability to report and manage permissions within inside that site using the out-of-the-box tools. But the restriction there is you're looking at them folder by folder and file by file. You also don't see the organizational level groups. So if there's AD groups that have been created, that have been added into your site, you won't see who's inside those groups. So you're relying on IT to make sure that the AD groups are well maintained and so on as well. Otherwise, you actually just don't get the true picture as to who's got access to your content using SharePoint out of the box. So with DeliverPoint, you can produce on-demand or scheduled reports, either direct permission reports or also sharing reports. You can manage from within the report and bulk manage them as well. So if you wanted to remove certain users, remove the everyone group, or anything like that, you can do so. So you can make those changes in real time, even from a scheduled report. And you can also create report templates so they're easier to access in the future if need be. And then finally, you can also generate snapshots. So when you create a site and you assign the right people to that site as having the permissions you want them to have, you could then take a snapshot. So if this permission sharing sprawl occurs, you can reset it back to how it was originally and how you intended it to be. So we'll have a look at that. First of all, let's just jump back into SharePoint here. So I'm just going to navigate to something with a little bit more going on than that financial planning site. There's more broken permission inheritance in here, more sharing, and so on. That site was newly created. So in here, just taking a look at it from an initial point of view using SharePoint out of the box, you'll notice it says there's only 8 members. What that means is there's only 8 people inside the members group. It doesn't account for the everyone group having view access or any direct permissions that have been assigned or any groups, such as AD groups that have been nested inside of the AD groups. So this by no means is the full list of people that have permissions to this particular site. So we'll close that. If we go to the site permissions, we can see in here a bit more as to what's going on, although we're not seeing individuals. I can see that the everyone group has been added in the visitors group. I have a sales group, which is an AD group. We can't enumerate that one. There's nothing we can do with it other than see it's there. This one here is the Microsoft 365 group. You can see that that has members. It's got 9 members in it. And at the top there, we've got the owners group as well. If we went into the advanced permission settings, within that, you can see that there are some users with direct permission, which didn't get included inside that side panel. And yeah, there's also yeah, really that's it. That's the differences. So let's navigate home back onto that site, and we'll have a look at some of the things that you can do with DeliverPoint to report on this site. And again, I'm going to focus a little bit on tying down ready for Copilot as well. But again, if you're not using Copilot, no issue. In the top right corner, you're going to see some shortcuts if you have full control to the site. If you don't, you're not going to see this option. Notice that demo user 6 doesn't see the option. If we go into a document library as demo user 6, there's nothing on the command bar here giving me DeliverPoint, and also on the edit control block here, there's no DeliverPoint. If we have full control to the site, we'll see DeliverPoint in the top right corner. You will see it under the lists and the libraries on the command bar. So in here is DeliverPoint, and equally you're going to see DeliverPoint here on the edit control block. There we go. There's the discover permissions and so on. And it will show up even if I have multiple files and folders selected as well. So we can report in bulk across all of those. So it's limited to people that have full control. You don't need to do anything for that. You don't need to manage it. It's going to manage itself. It's going to security trim. If we go to the discover permissions report, this is something that you can run at every site, every list, every folder, every file. Like I say, multiple files in bulk if you want to, or multiple sites in bulk. And it will show you everybody that's mentioned. So we see a full list of people, the permission level granted to each of those. You can sort it, you can filter it to get to the information that you want. So if I wanted to see just everybody with edit permissions, this is something that I could see. We can click onto edit there as the full list of everybody with edit permissions, and then we can start to see how those users actually got their edit permissions as well. So most of these are all through the members group, which is fair enough, but that's not always the case. Notice how demo user 5 here is granted permissions through the sales group as well. Now, one of the things I can do is render this report by groups, and you'll see then clearly that the everyone group is added to this site and it has read access. If we're concerned with other permissions it may have, we could always filter on that. And we can see, yeah, it only has read access. Again, that's a decision we could make, is to remove it if need be. We can highlight both of those rows, come down to the permissions management, the account management, and we can delete the permissions. And by clicking onto that, it's going to delete the everyone group from within my site. And we'll be comfortable knowing the fact that it doesn't have access, and it's only the list of people that we can see that will have access. So that's the discover permissions. We've also got a sharing links report. So I can produce the sharing links report. I don't need to go folder by folder, file by file, have a look at my subfolders individually and things like that. We can just run that once at the site level. It will include everything in the site. I can see the files and folders that have been shared, when they were shared, who they were shared by, the type of sharing, the permission granted, and the people that have access to that link. So you'll notice this bottom one, as I expand the sharing links group, that there's a user in here called me, called Brett Lonsdale. It was in italic font, and the reason why it's in italic font is because it was an external share. to my Gmail account. So anything in italics like that is external. So what I could do is maybe come in and consider removing that sharing link, or we could set an expiration on that one since it was an anyone link but just sent to me. We could set an expiration on that one, so it will now expire. Anybody that is specifically added, you can also go through and change. So I can click onto the change option there. If I wanted to drop a user, we could drop the user or change the permission level and so on, and really get on top of all of the sharing links. And notice how you can also filter on those as well. So if we're not too concerned with specific people, if we're just concerned with the anyone links, we can choose the anyone link and see all of those in one place. And of course, we could bulk remove them if we wanted to. So that's just some of the things that you've got running from a business user's point of view. There is a permission summary as well that you can run. This is a great one. If you've looked into Copilot, you'll know that sensitivity labels can play a part in not allowing sharing as well. So what we could do is generate the report at the summary level, and we can then see how many items have unique permissions, how many sharing links there are, and you can drill into that information to see what those items are with unique permissions. You can then drill in further and report on those permissions, including a compare permissions report if you want to, so you can see what the differences are in permissions across those three objects. And at the bottom here, you'll also see that there's files marked as with sensitivity labels. So there's 7 confidential files. So by clicking onto that link, we can see everything that is marked as confidential. So there's the 7 files, and we're seeing who's got access to those different files marked as confidential. Okay, so they were all on-demand reports. There is the option to schedule these reports as well. So I could schedule a discover permissions report. We can schedule it for a different user. We can set the frequency, and we can choose what we want to include within the report, and we can also send an email notification when it's ready as well. The great thing about a scheduled report is it doesn't just come as a CSV file. A CSV file is useful to see the information, see who has what permissions within your site, but then you still have to go into SharePoint, find that file or folder manually and change the permissions. With our scheduled reports, we can go into those scheduled reports either via the link or on this page and open up the report. So there's one that I created earlier. If we click onto that, it opens it up in the browser, and it also allows me to perform the cleanup from within the browser as well. So if there were certain permissions that I still want to remove, I'm not having to read it in an Excel file, go back to SharePoint, make the change. I can just come in here, choose the rows that I want to change, and from the actions menu, we could go through, delete the permissions for those users if I want to, hit run, and DeliverPoint will take care of deleting those permissions. Okay, so even though it's not a live report, that's still something that we can do. So that's from a business user's perspective. If we just jump in and take a look at an IT persona, we are no longer looking at the permissions contextually from within the site. We can look at them from the tree view. So we can expand all of our site collections. We can select multiple site collections or SharePoint hubs, Microsoft 365 groups and teams. We can report on those in bulk, which you can see I've got multiple highlighted here. We've got the different reports that we can execute. And we can also make changes in bulk as well. And it's not just about the permissions. We can also clean up dead accounts. Dead accounts being accounts that have maybe left the organization, they're marked as disabled in the Active Directory or they're deleted from the Active Directory. We can report on all of those and then remove the permissions for those if we want to. You can also see all the external sharing and all the unlicensed users across multiple site collections at any one time. And it's also useful for onboarding and offboarding users as well. So you can get an account-centric view and remove the permissions from those people in bulk if you need to. So let's take a quick look at that. I'm going to jump back into DeliverPoint, and this is the main DeliverPoint page, which I'll make full screen. It will default to the current site being the scope that I was on when I accessed DeliverPoint, but we can open up this tree view, and from within the tree view are all of the different sites and site collections within inside my tenant. So from here, we can expand a site collection if we really want to focus on that one particular site collection. The current site collection that I'm in is always at the top. Everything is in that alphabetical order after that. And from within here, we can see what has unique permissions, what is inheriting permissions, and set those as the scope for our report. So anything in full color as an icon, like this regions site and the top level site, of course, they have unique permissions. And I can see this document library also has unique permissions as well. So notice how that is setting my scope. So the scope is set then for any operations that I might perform, like a transfer permissions or a delete permissions, and also for the report. So if I was to discover permissions, it's going to run that report across what I selected on the tree. So we're seeing all the permissions for the region site. We're seeing all the permissions for this document library. And of course, we'll have the Lightning Tools sales site in there as well as we navigate through. So that's how we can report in bulk. If we want to, we can also, like I say, span multiple site collections like so. And from the reports menu, not just run a discover permissions, but a discover permissions advanced. And what this report will give me is the ability to pre-filter it before it runs. We can actually have a look at things like the permissioned via name. So in here, I could put the everyone group if I wanted to, or I could even put my sales Active Directory security group in there. I can have it go down to folder level and file level. We can include sharing links as part of our report and sensitivity labels and so on. Generate that. And as you can see, it's spanning now 4 site collections, going across 12 sites, 122 lists, and you get to see the items, but there's the report created for me. So all of that information is now available, and we can filter it, sort it, export it if we want to, and so on. You can take a snapshot, as I mentioned earlier on. So from the snapshot option, if I take a snapshot, give that a name, I'm just going to call this webinar August demo. So we could take that snapshot, and then if any changes occur to any of those permissions that we're seeing with inside that report, we can then compare the snapshot with the current state. So I'll just simply close that down, and let's make a change to something in here. Too much choice as to what to make a change to. Let's just actually delete demo user 5. Okay, so we're making a change. So it deleted demo user 5 from a bunch of places. And now we can actually go through to our snapshot management, choose recover permissions. There's the snapshot that I took, and we can compare permissions, and it's showing me the differences. So if we want to put them back, we can just simply hit that recover permissions, and it'll put them back to exactly how they were. Okay, so they're the sort of things that we can do with DeliverPoint. We've got the reporting capabilities. We've also got the transferring between accounts, copying permissions between accounts, and so on. What I do want to do is save a little time here for what's new in version 4.5. So we'll cover that, and then, like I said, we'll open up for questions as well. But there's a lot that you've not seen in DeliverPoint just from that small demo. So I'll show you how you can also book a full demo with us in just a moment. But let's first of all have a look at version 4.5 and what is new. So if you currently have DeliverPoint and you've joined this webinar, you won't have seen these yet. So quick reports is something that is new, and we've created two quick reports, which we're going to add to again more in the future. But the quick reports are intended to give you things that are more obvious. And I'm going to jump straight into the demo to explain what I mean with that. So with Copilot in mind, we've really concerned about over permissioning and oversharing. Now, of course, that could be manually granted permissions to people that shouldn't have access. You can see how you can control that with discover permissions and the sharing link report and so on. But if we really want to focus on anyone groups, everyone groups and anyone sharing, these are two quick reports that we've got. So you don't have to create an advanced permissions report and set up the filters and sort criteria and so on. You can just simply come in and say, I want to create an anyone report, and you can see what's involved in creating the filter. We're looking for anybody with a link that can read, anybody with a link that can edit, anybody with a link and the password that can read, and anybody with a link and the password that can edit. And then we can control, do we just want to look at that one site collection? Do we want to dive in deeper to files and folders? Do we want to show the folder structure so we understand where these files and folders are? And also, do we want the sensitivity labels in there as well? Yes, please. So we can tick all of those, run it, and we can rest assured that these are the only anyone sharing links anywhere inside that site collection in one place for me to now start to manage. I don't have to go site by site, folder by folder, file by file. It's all here. So secret info, yeah, I can remove that because it's secret. I don't want anybody having access to that one. So that's a quick report that we can do. Doesn't have to be just on one site collection. You can, like I say, select multiple site collections and run that anyone sharing link report across the multiple site collections in one go. Now we've also got the everyone permissions. This is the everyone group. So the permissioned via name is everyone except external users, everyone, all users, membership, and all users Windows. So it's checking for those 4 different criteria. You didn't need to go and set that filter manually. Again, we've got the options to include the files and folders and items and so on as well. Once again, you've got folder structure, sensitivity labels that you might want to turn on, etc. If you are a member of a very large organization, and maybe you've got 100,000 users and you've got some very large AD security groups, one of the options is to delay the rendering of the membership of those groups because it can slow down the report generation, of course. So if we just, like in this case, all I need to know is that the everyone group is permissioned. I don't need to see who's in that everyone group because it's everyone. So that checkbox is selected. I don't need to see 10,000 users in my report. I just need to see that the everyone group is in there. So we can check that option. And then when we run this, it will produce that information for me. Again, we're going through a large number of sites here, and these are all the places where the everyone group has been added, all the files where the everyone group has been added. And if I really want to, I can select all those sites, all those lists, all those items, and come up here to the account management and say delete permissions, and it will delete based on that scope. It will allow me to go through and remove all of those in one go if we wanted to do that. Actually, let me just point something else out to you there. If I go to delete the permissions there, of course, we're running a risk of something breaking if we just delete permissions in bulk like that. When I say something breaking, DeliverPoint's not going to break, SharePoint's not going to break, but somebody may not be able to access something that they need. So what we can do is also support a rollback, which would allow me to reverse that job at a later stage if we need to. Okay, so that's the couple new reports there that we have under quick reports. Now we've also got group management as well. So I'll show you what we used to do and what we now have the option of doing. If I was to select a site and let's, like I say, discover permissions, on this particular site, and I noticed that there's a user in here that maybe shouldn't be in here. I could select that user and come down to the account management, maybe say delete the permissions from this user. Now I might not want to delete all the permissions from the user, so what we have always had the option to do is say we could just delete the direct permissions and leave these two things unchecked, or I could say, yeah, I want to take them out of SharePoint groups and also want to take them out of any Microsoft 365 groups as well. So it's kind of a blanket approach. We didn't have the option to say, take them out of the members group, but leave them in the owners group, or take them out of the sales group, but leave them in the marketing group, and so on. We didn't have that granular control over what groups we want to take them out of. So what we do have now is the ability to go under group management, and we can view or modify the groups that a user is a member of, and we can also add users to groups as well, which makes onboarding a lot easier. Now, before I run that, I'm going to show you how this can be used in the context of the accounts view. So if I do a search on demo user 5 and select demo user 5, we can now come down here to them and notice how I can then retrieve the groups that demo user 5 is a member of within the scope of this site collection here. So it's found the groups, and we could go through and remove the group if necessary, just simply by selecting it and then choosing that remove option. And again, you've got that support rollback if you need to reverse it. So you've got that option. If I don't select a user, it's going to default to me. So if I go to the, so choose the site collection, come down to the group management, view and modify, notice how it's defaulting to me, and I've got a replacement user. So what I can do is switch me out in certain groups that I go through and select as well. And you've also got the option of adding users to groups. So we can choose the user, and it will show me what groups are in scope of this site collection. So now I can say, yeah, they should be in that region's members. They should also maybe be an approver, and so on. And I could add the user to the group at the bottom there. Okay, so improved group management. We also have bulk management of site collection sharing options, which you saw what you can do earlier by going into the site sharing option, bringing that side panel out over on the right side. What I can do now, if I just at random choose a few site collections, from the reports menu, I can go into the site permission properties and retrieve them for the site collections that I selected. So this allows me to choose whether we're going to allow anybody to share files and folders, or any editor, or just the owners. So you've got that for files as well as the sites, and you can control the access requests in bulk as well. So that just saves you from having to go to each individual site and setting that. You can do that from the tree view, or another way of doing this is from the reports menu. You can have a look at the site collections that you are the owner of. So when you run that one, you're going to see everything that you're responsible for in one view. And from here, we can go through, select the ones that we want to change, and from that reports menu, set the permission properties on them. So you can access it that way as well. And that way you're only focused on the things that you're managing. And one here was the inclusion of sensitivity labels in some of the reports. So we had them anyway in certain reports, but it's just whether you want to include them in things like the unique permission reports and things like that as well now. So when I go to report, if we have a look at unique objects, as soon as I choose the files and folders, there's the option to show sensitivity labels as well. So so running that will show me the sensitivity labels, and like I said, that's really useful. If you are implementing Copilot, you can make sure that the right people have the right access to some of these files that are marked as confidential or sensitive, and so on. Okay, so that was a lot to squeeze into an hour. I think I just about did it. We've got well, no time for questions, but I'm willing to take them. If you're willing to stay on, I'm willing to stay on. Yeah, I see there's been some activity already in the chat. I noticed that Sandy has been answering those questions, so thank you, Sandy. Not sure if there's anything unanswered. I think it looks like yeah, Sandy, you've answered those questions there. But yeah, if there's anything that anybody has now, now bring your attention back to asking questions. If you want to post those in the chat window, feel free to do so, and I'll answer them. Alternatively, I know we've gone beyond the top of the hour, so if you have any questions that you want to email to us, you can email to our support team on help@lightningtools.com, or brett@lightningtools.com if you want to direct them at me. Feel free to do that, and I'll be able to answer them there as well. And I'm just going to pause for a moment, waiting for any other questions. If you don't have any, feel free to drop off. There is more information on our website. So you can go to lightningtools.com, under products, click onto DeliverPoint. From there, you can book a private demo with me. So if you did want a full demonstration, if you've got specific requirements that I've not covered today, feel free to book a demo. I'll be more than happy to run through the product with a focus on your exact needs. And there's also a trial there as well that you can download, as well as pricing information and so on too. So feel free to go out onto the DeliverPoint page on our website and have a look at that. I'm not seeing any other questions, so hopefully I didn't bore you. Hopefully this was useful. And yeah, thank you for the comment, Christina. Appreciate that. Appreciate you joining as well. And yeah, thanks everybody, and wish you well. Have a good rest of the day. Take care.